I'm so happy.
Hello everyone, and quite literally, welcome back to the channel, because I imagine many of you, or if not all of you, have not been around the channel for, let's say, the past couple of months, and neither have I. That's because I've been taking a bit of a break from the channel, and as per usual, it's not an intended break, it just kind of happened out of nowhere. I just made a video and then just happened to not really follow it up with anything, and then time passes and it turns out I haven't made a video for a couple of months, and yeah, it's not great, and unfortunately that seems to keep on happening recently. The thing is that last year, around this time actually, it was July 2020 when I started making videos again, and I was really consistent throughout the entire year, up until about January 2021, and then unfortunately the wheels have kind of fallen off the channel, to be honest. I remember I took a short break, which I actually made a video about, which is really odd because I've taken two far longer breaks since then, so making a video on that particular break seems kind of really weird and not really necessary. But yeah, I think it was in between, like around February time. I barely made any videos in February, made a video about that, then made a few videos, didn't make a video in March and most of April, then returned at the end of April, made a few videos, and then I've taken a massive break since then. It's a bit of a weird situation, to be honest with you, but mainly it's just that, and I know I say this all the time, but the motivation just isn't really there, and I think I can kind of explain why now, and it coincides with my current interest in Doctor Who is what I've found, because the 3 breaks this year is primarily due to the fact that I've lost interest in Doctor Who, and this can be traced back to 2019, where I took a massive break in the latter half of that year because I wasn't really interested in Doctor Who, and I got about half a year by making no Doctor Who videos, and then after that the urge to make videos kind of petered out, and it's kind of been the same here. I've tried making videos on Justice League, I was going to make more videos on football, and I made one and it flopped, to be quite honest with you. It did really terribly, no one watched that one, so that kind of made me not really want to make football videos, because as much as I want to do it for myself, ultimately it's hard to get into the mindset of making something when subconsciously you know that no one's really going to watch it. I used to be able to do this, but unfortunately in the past year, as the channel has grown, the views have gone up, I've become more view-centric, annoyingly, and that's just how things have become, unfortunately, and it's hard to make something when the views aren't really guaranteed. And it's the same with Marvel, and even though some of the Marvel or DC videos, well, DC, I haven't made a Marvel video in a while. The reason I say Marvel videos is because I recorded a few Marvel videos that haven't seen the light of day. The same with a football video as well, another football video that also hasn't seen the light of day. And yeah, it's purely because I record it, but I can't get the urge to edit it, purely because I think subconsciously I know the views aren't going to come in. And the thing is, I go through phases of interests. I think at the beginning of the year I was still in my Doctor Who phase that I've been in since around July, or not even July, the entirety of 2020, despite not making videos for a long period of time in the early part of that year. I was essentially doing as much Doctor Who stuff as I'd done before, because during the first lockdown I did not only a marathon of the Revive series, but also a classic marathon, in which I watched a classic Doctor Who story every single day, and I never finished that marathon. I never actually finished the Revive series marathon, although I got to the end of the Smith era. But despite that, essentially, even though I wasn't making videos throughout a large portion of early 2020, I was still, thoroughly engrossed in Doctor Who. And yeah, I kind of ended the Doctor Who marathons around this time last year in 2020. Mental to think that that's been a year, does not feel like it at all. But I kind of replaced that with returning to the channel, making Doctor Who videos, and After that, I got more engrossed with the community. I met some wonderful people in the community, made genuine friends, and yeah, the channel began to grow, and I was just bapping out videos. I brought up the podcast, and the channel was doing really well for essentially the rest of 2020, and I was making 3-4 videos a week. It was mental. How am I doing this? It was really good. And then after January 2021, I had some big plans for the channel. I wanted to outline hitting 500 subscribers by the end of the year. I was actually gonna make the podcast a weekly thing to compete with other Doctor Who podcasts that were around at that time. I was going to do loads of stuff, and then after that, my interest from Doctor Who started to sway. I went into a kind of Justice League mode because of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Then that went into more of a Marvel thing with the TV shows coming out. Then I went for a weird X-Men phase, which was really unprovoked. But yeah, just went into getting, doing a lot of stuff. I started to get fascinated by the X-Men. And then that slowly faded out after a few months. And then I got more into a football phase with the end of the Premier League season, obviously the Euros. And on top of that, I've been quite busy, particularly recently with the end of year 12 at school and end of year exams and all those kind of stuff. So ultimately I haven't had much time to dedicate to videos anyway, but with my lack of interest in Doctor Who just kind of being around this period, you think, well, why don't you just make videos on other things? But as I've mentioned, I've done that. I've recorded videos on other things, but subconsciously I just don't think the views would be there, and that kind of puts me off really trying to edit them, and I don't have the enthusiasm that I would with the Doctor Who video. And why don't you say, why don't you pump out Doctor Who videos? Well, Doctor Who's not on my brain, so I don't have any ideas to make Doctor Who videos or to edit them either. So unfortunately that means that the channel kind of is a bit dormant, which is a shame, but it is what it is. As I said, I'd love to make videos on other topics, but I just can't get the urge to edit them because I subconsciously know the views won't be there, which was absolutely proven by that video, kind of precursor to the Euros, with me talking about the squad and my opinions and thoughts going into the tournament. Hasn't even hit 20 views at time of recording, and considering all my Doctor Who videos before that reached at least 100 views, and one of them was my most popular video on 1,300 views, which is still mental to say. Yes, it certainly flopped. So that's kind of why I haven't been making videos, but I want to come back. I want to come back to the channel. And yeah, because I feel as if now is the time. I finished year 12, the summer is ahead of me. I feel as if I really want to get back on the horse and start making YouTube videos, not only to try and engross myself in the community a bit more, get myself more hyped for Doctor Who, but also it's a bit of a shame because there was so much good growth on this channel over 2020. I feel like I've just kind of thrown it away by not really capitalising on that and just kind of ditching the YouTube channel. Which is a real shame, and yeah, I feel as if I've almost, betrayed you guys, because I was making regular content and unfortunately that just hasn't really kept up. But as I said, the issue is the Doctor Who content is the only content that will get views. It's what most people come to the channel for, if not everyone. And yeah, with me not really being in the Doctor Who state of mind for the last few months, it's hard to really get into the zone to make Doctor Who videos, and I've come to the realisation that I actually don't know what content to make, to be quite honest with you. It's been so long. I think I started in around January, February time, but trying to put more time into making videos to make them better, which sounds like a good idea. I obviously got some new editing software, you guys will know that. I've been stuck with Movie Maker for absolutely ages. I finally upgraded it. You could do so much new cool stuff which Movie Maker didn't allow me to do, and I wanted to make my videos more high production, but unfortunately that comes with a cost. It takes more time, it takes more effort, and ultimately I don't have a great attention span. I used to, but unfortunately now I don't, even though I like a lot of long classic Who stories, so I don't really know how that correlates. But ultimately I have quite a bad attention span. I get bored very easily as of late, so therefore when I need to put effort into really editing a video, whereas I'd be able to edit it, record it, edit it and bop it out, in a day, now it's taking 2-3 days just to record and edit, if not a week, because when you're adding video clips on top and different effects and stuff to make it seem more professional, then ultimately you're editing the video and then you're editing the video again, but it takes twice as long because you're looking for clips, if not 3 times as long. So essentially that's 4 times the length that you would make a video. And, you know, God forbid if I was scripting them, then that would take even longer. And someone like Harbo or Full Fat Videos, excellent at doing this, but unfortunately I just can't at the moment. I don't know whether it's just the time because I go to school a lot, but ultimately I just think it's also the mentality. However, I want to see if I can really try and dedicate some time to making better videos in the summer. But also you're going to get videos that are more the just me to camera type ones without all the clips, mainly because for some topics I just don't think it really warrants pictures or clips in the background. And ultimately, if I want to get videos out quick or not really feel as if I'm laboured with a certain video that I need to edit, then ultimately that may be the case. And I did make some really cool videos. I thought I had one on Joe Martin's doctor, which if you watched the football video, which let's be real you didn't, but if you did, you'll know that at the end of that I said that I had that video in the pipeline. That's been about half edited for about a month and a half, if not a couple of months, and due to my lack of interest in Doctor, it kind of spiked up a bit again in April when I made those Doctor videos. Despite being on a Doctor break, I made that one about Series 13, those fandom videos, and a news video, and I recorded that video still on the hype of that, and ultimately I thought that was a great video. I was editing it, I thought this is the best edited video I've ever done, but ultimately I lost the urge to edit it, but I do want to continue editing it and upload it for you guys. It's been a weird few months, and ultimately, yeah, I feel like the editing has kind of, even though I put it upon myself to make my videos better, it also took away from the experience because I was putting more effort, and ultimately that was more of a drawback because I wasn't getting videos out fast, I wasn't really enjoying it that much, and therefore I stopped making videos, not intentionally, but it was certainly a factor in that subconsciously, because I wasn't enjoying editing as much because it started to become a bit of a grueling task. And yeah, I think part of the reason why I put such a focus in trying to make my videos better, they started getting more clickbaity titles, the thumbnails started to become more clickbaity, better editing in them, was because I really wanted to blow my channel up. It got an amazing reach, you know, getting to 100 subscribers. I think we're one off 150 now, but ultimately I wanted my channel to keep on rising. I wanted it to see growth because I was seeing all these different content creators, some of whom I'm friends with, some of whom I'm not, all getting, you know, increasing in subscribers, and also people loving their content, and I just thought my content's not good enough. Is that why I haven't really reached the heights yet? Also, I don't appeal enough to the algorithm, and all that made me, yes, appeal more to the algorithm, but also kind of ruin the YouTube experience for me. I've spoken about in a few other videos why ultimately I've become a lot more view-centric. I said it at the beginning of this video, and it has certainly taken away from the experience, whereas I used to do things on my terms, in my style. I had certainly changed my approach to purely make my channel grow, and although it has worked slightly, it has become more grueling. So even though I'm not going to go back to what I was like before, in which I put not much effort into videos, in which I don't really appeal to the algorithm, in which I don't try and put videos out on time, I want to try and get a happy balance in between the two, a happy medium if you will, so I can make videos that are high quality but also that I enjoy to make and can get out on time. Another thing that you may think is the podcast. The Cosmic Convention podcast is something I started up about a year ago after not involving myself in the community at all. I'd never spoken to anyone within the community IRL in terms of like voice or whatever. I'd only interacted with a handful of people on Twitter, and even then I wasn't very active. No one knew of my channel, and therefore I just thought, what the hell, let's just start a podcast and let's see how it goes. And it went really well. I spoke to some lovely people. I had some amazing episodes, and the episodes actually did really well. Some of them are some of my most viewed videos, and it is really popular. However, towards the end, the last few episodes weren't great, I don't think. Some of them were, but I think the last episode you saw, I think it's the Billy Garrett John one, was the beginning of the end for the podcast, because ultimately I was getting rather envious of other podcasts around that time. You had the Who Knew podcast that kind of came out of nowhere, Adam Martin's podcast as well, doing the same thing as me, but ultimately being more regular and more successful, getting in these crazy guests, and I was like, right, I need to do this. I need to bap out as many of these as possible. I need to get some really cool guests, and ultimately it ruined the experience because I wasn't doing it on my own pace now. I was just getting loads of guests, and ultimately I didn't really come that prepared with them. Like before, the conversations were great, but now you could see that I didn't quite have the interest in podcast making. I was just doing it for the sake of it. The conversations weren't that great. We were staying on topics for far too long, and I was kind of trying to drag out conversations just to reach the 2-hour mark, even if they did not warrant getting there at all. And often the podcast could seem rather boring, and I'd end a podcast and not really be happy with it. It's probably why I actually recorded 3 podcasts absolutely ages ago, 2 in February, 1 in March, that you haven't seen. The first one was the return of Winky Media. We did one on the Moffat era. And then the second one was on Harbo Worms. You guys will know that me and Harbo are decent friends. I've been on his streams a number of times, and I've interacted with him a fair bit. So I finally got him on the podcast after asking. But again, that episode, unlike the Winky one, which I feel like in recent podcasts was a bit of an outlier for being a very good episode, probably mainly because we had a topic there, I feel like that one was similar to the Billy Garrett John one, in which I was sticking on topics for too long and it wasn't a great conversation. But it wasn't as bad as the Adam Martin one, which, as I said, these podcasts were only bad from my performance. The guests were absolutely brilliant, but from my performance, again, I was sticking on topics for too long. It wasn't very interesting. I wasn't that interested in doing the podcast. That probably ties in with the fact I wasn't that my interest in Doctor Who was waning at that time, and yeah, the podcasts just weren't that great. I'm still going to upload them at some point. I don't know when though, because again, knowing that some of them weren't great, I just don't have the eagerness to edit them, but I do still want to edit them because I think there are good parts in there. The podcast ultimately ended up being a bit of a negative thing, whereas initially they were my favourite things I was doing on the channel, and I kind of doubted my passion for podcast making, my ability as a podcaster. And yeah, ultimately that's why I kind of cut off the podcast and haven't made an episode in a number of months, and I don't really think I'm going to return to it, at least not at the moment. I would like to bring back the Cosmic Convention at some point when I hopefully rehabilitate the channel a bit, get more into Doctor Who, and then I can start talking to people more. I think when we see a trailer for Series 13, that might finally get me more into the show, again, shall we say, but obviously we haven't had that, and to be honest, it's looking unlikely that we're going to get that in the Euros final. Oh yeah, did I mention England are in a Euros final tomorrow? That's pretty mental. I'm obviously going to make a video on England's Euros campaign. I kind of owe myself to do that after I made one before that, in which I doubted them quite a lot, so yeah, I kind of have to make a video on that, but all that's very exciting. But this is what I mean, I'm more in a football zone right now than perhaps a Doctor Who zone. Just don't really see them putting a trailer in the Euros because we haven't really had anything. The only reason they're doing this is because, well, the trailer in the World Cup final, so people think it's going to be a similar thing, but personally I don't think it is, and yeah, I just don't think that's going to happen. But whenever the trailer comes, hopefully that'll get me more excited to make more videos, and then maybe that might get me more into the Doctor Who zone, the vibe I suppose, and then hopefully I'll be able to bring back the podcast and have the enthusiasm for chatting with people about Doctor Who. But until that happens, the podcast is kind of on a bit of a hiatus. I mean, it's been on a hiatus since March essentially, or February I think was when I posted the last episode. Yeah, of course it was February. And technically since March, since I recorded the last episode, which I did with Adam Martin, which you haven't seen yet, and you may not, but I think you probably will, it just depends on when. But yeah, the podcast is going on a hiatus because I was kind of pumping it out without very little interest and enthusiasm, and I want to be enthusiastic and put out the best episodes that I possibly can. And I don't feel as if I was doing that, and I can't do that in my current predicament, but hopefully I'll gain more enthusiasm for the show, and then the podcast can begin again. So yes, thank you guys for watching. I hope this kind of explains where I've been, and yeah, it's not quite as depressing as the Where I've Been video. that I did in like February or something, where I was like, oh, I feel depressed, my mental health's not great, I just can't be bothered to do anything. Isn't that nowhere near as depressed as that? It's just a case of time and varying interests, I suppose. But I do want to bring the channel back. I do want to get more into the Doctor Who vibe, which I think is kind of essential for making videos on this channel. This was actually going to be a video on another topic, and me explaining where I was just going to be the intro to it, but ultimately I've rambled on for so long that it's just going to be a video in itself. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this explains where I've been, and yeah, hopefully you look forward to the channel returning, and hopefully I can deliver some more content to you guys. I don't exactly know what you guys want to see from me. Do you want more highly edited videos? Do you want more like one-off reviews, like maybe movie reviews, the Big Finish reviews? What do you guys want to see? Obviously, I've said that some of you may want the podcast, and they are going to return, but you know, not for a while. So that one's firmly not on the table, at least for the time being. But yeah, what content do you guys want me to see? Maybe it's something I haven't done before. If you want me to tackle that, whatever it is, drop it down in the comment section below. I'd be really interested to read your thoughts, your feedback, and to take it on board. Also, in the first 3 minutes or so of this video, if you could hear my dog crying in the background, I do apologise. That's purely because my parents are outside, so my dog wanted to be in my room because he doesn't want to be downstairs on his own when my parents aren't in. He likes to come up and sit in my room, but because my parents are outside, he was crying, but he didn't want to leave the room, so I was at a bit of a crossroads. So unfortunately I just had to record the video. He's now, for the rest of the video, he's not been in my room, he's been in my sister's room because he was starting to cry a little bit, which obviously wouldn't have been great for the background audio of this video. So I hope in the first 3 minutes that wasn't too troublesome. I listened to the first 3 minutes back, it didn't sound like it is, apart from right on like the 3-minute mark, so I do apologise for that. But yes, thank you guys for watching. Like, comment and subscribe. Dust off that subscribe button if you haven't already, and even if you have, maybe unsubscribe and subscribe again, just to remove the metaphorical dust. Actually, don't do that because I don't think that's great for the algorithm or whatever. I don't know, I know very little about the algorithm these days. But yes, do whatever. But yeah, if you're excited, subscribe and stay tuned. But yes, thank you guys for listening to this. I suppose it's audio, so listening rather than watching, although there are going to be visual elements because it's a YouTube video. What am I even talking about? I'm rambling now. Thank you guys for watching, look forward to the content, and I look forward to you guys viewing it. Thank you guys for watching, and of course, a goodbye. It's good to be back.